Good morning. It is time for Tuesday Truths. It's hard to believe it's been an entire another week, but I'm doing what my friend Stephen W. tells me to do. Stephen, if you are out there, Steve, if you're out there, chime in and tell me how the hell to pronounce your name. Anyways, before I hit it hard, I've been up since actually 5:30, because my husband got me up and he set coffee by my bedside, which was really cool. He does that a lot. But I've been up for a while because we have a plumber coming pretty soon, and the timing is excellent because we were going to do Tuesday Truths today. Today we are talking about perception. In your journey as you go through life, you talk to people who make an instant, immediate, impactful impression on you. And this is what happened to me last week when I had Elon Ferdman on. And Elon and Guy Ferdman were both on with Satori Prime. I was just on their podcast, and then I had them on my podcast because that's like the new social thing that you do together. And in any regard, we started talking about how to take care of the people in your midst. Like, when you feel like your relationships are suffering and you're not quite sure how to get people on board with, miscommunications and things of that nature. So we started talking about, we did some role playing actually. And I said, you know what? You pretend to be the wife and tell me how you're feeling. And he said, actually, you know what, I'm going to, hi Tom. He said, actually, I'm going to have you be the wife and you tell me how you're feeling. And I came across and said, in this role-playing scenario, which doesn't apply to my real husband, hi honey, that, I wasn't feeling heard, and I was just kind of confused about the treatment going on, and I wanted to know if he believed me, if I was sick, or if I didn't feel good. And this can apply across many areas of your life. It doesn't have to be illness. It could be anything. When you're not receiving the validation that you need, and this is especially important in the chronically ill and disabled entrepreneur community, we have to learn how to take care of our relationships. And just because we're sick, it doesn't mean that we can't participate. It doesn't mean that we don't have value. We definitely need to take that responsibility and communicate. So first of all, I want to put that out there to you. And I want to say, just because you are sick, it doesn't mean that you can't participate mindfully in your relationship. And what I mean by that is you have responsibilities in telling people what you need in a way that is respectful to them. So, for example, if I don't feel good and I need help that day, whatever the day is, I'm not going to wait until my husband sits down and then ask him right away, can you get this thing for me? I'm going to wait until I see that it's convenient for him, to let him know that I think it's, I respect him. I respect how he's feeling. I respect his energy levels. The support people in our midst sometimes don't feel good. It's not always us who are like, when he gets sick, I'm like, oh my God, what can I do? Because you're finally sick. So that's the first thing, is we talked about responsibility, and we talked about being realistic that, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, taking care of another human being is not always a fun job. Surprise! But it doesn't mean that you're not worth it or you're not valuable. It just means that truly it's a job. It's something that it's a thing that they have to do. And they're allowed to have feelings about it. So that's the first thing, is participating mindfully. The second thing, and this is where perception comes in, is we create stories in our minds of realities. And I'm not saying that you don't have feelings or you're not validated in your emotions. You most definitely have a right to any of your feelings. But the next time you're feeling offended, or the next time you're unsure, this is a thing that I think will work really well, and it is simply to state, and we've talked about this before, using your I feelings. You can use this or not use this, but in any regard, you want to start the conversation, or you want to start the thought process of, what perception have I built in my head? So I might say, well, I don't feel taken care of. But that is a perception that I have built in my head. And so when I'm talking to somebody in my support circle, and this applies to this applies to chronically ill people, disabled entrepreneurs, people who are going through struggles in life, mental health concerns, things of that nature. You need to have this conversation and let people know, this is my perception. So I feel like this is what the truth of this situation is. So my perception is, and you might want to cushion this a little bit, and this is okay. My perception is that I feel like that you don't really believe that I'm sick. That's my perception that I've created in my head, and it doesn't really make sense to me because I know that you support me. So we have to acknowledge that we give power and control to the stories that we tell each other. So that's what I want to encourage you to do, is we are reactive beings. So we'll say, well, this is the way it is. So-and-so said this, so I'm going to react this way, and this is the way it is. And you know what? We can take a minute, and we can say, wait a minute, what's the perception? And we can also look at the outside circumstances, and we can say, what's really going on here? Was this a good time to have a conversation? And did that maybe influence what my perception is? Did the other person have a difficult day? We have all kinds of different external situations that we need to identify, in addition to internal. What kind of emotions are they having? What is their perception? My perception, your perception, feeds into the next person's perception. So it's super important that as we cultivate our relationships, we stop and we say, what is the story here? And we ask each other, this is a story that I've created in my head, okay? Is that a true story? Or is it not a true story? And this opens up the channels of communication. We tried it the other night, and then, I had told my husband about it and said, let's give this a shot or whatever. And we tried it, and we kind of chuckled about it. But it's really hard to, and actually you can't deny somebody what their perception is. You simply can't. You can't say, well, that's not your truth, or you don't feel that way, or you didn't create that story. You have to accept it and then move from that point and address it and open up those channels of communication. So that's Tuesday Truths for me. I want to ask you to do something today, okay? This is difficult for me, but we are growing sickbiz.com as an organization supporting chronically ill and disabled entrepreneurs. And in order to do that, I need your help. And so I'm going to step out on a limb. I am going to, hi, Catherine. I am going to ask you to help me. And all I want you to do is share this video. We need funding because right now we are developing our resources page as the global organization for providing support, hacks, help, and hope to chronically ill and disabled entrepreneurs. We're doing everything in our power, including having a podcast each week. We have almost 20 guest bloggers on our page. And so if you can pass this along to somebody in a corporation who might be interested in supporting and partnering with the Sick Biz mission to bring greater visibility and even more resources to the people in our entrepreneur community who need it the most. This is the entrepreneur organization that I wished had been there for me when I first started. One of the things that we're developing is a quarterly grant for $500 that will be awarded to an entrepreneur who has been vetted by our board of directors. So I have one person on the board of directors right now, that's Matt Smith, and I'm super excited because it means we get to have a global presence. In America alone right now, over half of the population is chronically ill. That number is going to continue to climb, which means there's a huge opportunity to help people out there. So, that is your long-winded Tuesday Truths. Please do me a favor and pass this along. Also, head over to iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever podcasts are available. Take a listen to Sick Biz Buzz and leave a review for us. We are doing everything in our power to help people mindfully move through the progress of reaching their goals of success. Have a great week. I will see you next Tuesday for the next Tuesday Truths. Thanks.